I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Welcome back to Rise to Liberty podcast. Today I have a very special guest, new friend and fellow researcher, Disillusion Druid. How you doing?
Good. It's a crazy weekend. Kind of saw it coming, everything heating up.
Right. Before we get into it, do you kind of want to just give everyone a quick rundown about who you are, what you do?
Basically I started this account because I was on Reddit, and Reddit got taken over by feds, the conspiracy thing. They started putting out bad counterintelligence. This is like 2022. So I don't know. I felt I had to start saying something. It started by making my own memes for conspiracy memes because I was just trying to have some fun. But then, I've got like 20 years of weird experiences, both in life, like coming across conspiracy stuff, but also just like researching conspiracy stuff, enough to the point where, I keep track of the meta and the history of it all. That's my podcast, is the Conspiracy Meta, where I just try to keep up with, it's mostly a news podcast at this point, but I try to put a conspiracy twist on it, at least look at it from a different angle than the alt media and the mainstream media will tell us. Because It seems like as time goes on, the voices just keep getting more and more and more bottlenecked. But I pretty much have a good handle on everything conspiracy. I obsessively researched MK Ultra for a while. Just went through every single sub project that I could and tracked down all the redacted names that I could. Tried to make memes about them, but it's us small accounts are we got to work to really get our voices out there sometimes.
Yeah, no kidding. It's the big tech overlords do not make it easy by any means. So now we kind of talked about, started off with Operation Paperclip, and we were kind of talking behind the scenes about how that kind of rope backs into a lot of what we're seeing today. So where do you want to start?
With Operation Paperclip. Well, I think it doesn't take a genius or somebody trying to pay attention to the conspiracy meta to see that pretty much the Jews did it is the running narrative, both on the left and the right. So, when we can unite on a view, we've really hit the truth, right? Right. But no, I think, one, pure disclosure to everybody, since I guess they're going to call me one eventually. I am an ethnic Jew. I'm what you would call a messianic Jew. I believe Jesus Christ is not only the prophesied Messiah, but is also God himself. So I guess that makes me a Christian, but an unpopular one at saying that, because I don't believe the Trinity. Right. Man, it's like you just want to believe in something, what you think is the truth, and instead you got to figure out 50 definitions of how to label yourself, so that way people can at least even understand what you're saying.
Right. And that kind of seems how we get into trouble too, because if you don't have the right label, then that's the problem.
That's all bullshit. My Gen Alpha, well, never mind, I shouldn't go into this story, but the youth aren't on this same game of identity politics and labeling everything. They're in a whole different world. If you go on Oculus, man, it's scary. It's right. So these conversations where we have to label ourselves and we have to police our speech and we have to worry about what we're saying and putting out there, it is purely a millennial Gen Xer and Kurt Cobain boomer level of he's 68, 1968. That's kind of boomers.
Yeah, post-sexual revolution.
Yeah. They're not playing that label game at all. They're on a different. I'm scared of what their programming is. Flying drones around for the military, maybe.
Right. Right.
Neuralink. No, but with Operation Paperclip, so I saw Ian Carroll. Most people in the conspiracy world know who Ian Carroll is by now. I don't advocate for the man. I used to DM him back in the day, and then all of a sudden he quit being personable. But essentially, Ian Carroll put out a couple weeks ago that the Jews run the CIA, all of it, even though Mossad is definitely a competing faction in the global intelligentsia. And really, I was fighting with people online. And it really does boil down that logic eventually to the Nazis were Jews. They were all Jews. And it's like, wait a minute, completely redefining everything. Like, and so I also happened to run across a lot of paramilitary in like actual paramilitary people coming out and saying that they work for counterintelligence 2 weeks ago, right before the LA riots. It was like that night. I was going out and putting out comments and trying to tell people like, hey, you know, the Vatican pretty much established the CIA, the Dulles brothers, John Foster Dulles being a cardinal. And the Vatican also worked with Nazis in Operation Paperclip, brought Nazis to America. And so it's just like there's a thread here getting lost in the blame the Jews, blame Israel, that I think everybody needs to take a collective step back and look about and talk about, because we actually do have SS officers and real Nazis, if not actual survivors of World War II, albeit they'd be pretty old right now. They're children. And those people are in some of the richest, highest clearance government positions in, you could say, the world, but definitely our country.
Right.
They're running the show. The Nazi, we didn't beat the Nazis. We gave them.
They just moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's I do find this the Jews did it anti-Israel narrative incredibly interesting, that after October 7th, it does just seem like it kind of caught wildfire. And that's not to give Israel a pass, because, I mean, all governments are just terrible. I am an anarchist and always have been, always will be. And so I am incredibly critical of the government of Israel. However, it just, an ethnicity, while I do see differences, I mean, to me, it just mattered as much as hair color. You know, like it doesn't, or shoe size, like it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And so the Jews, you know, the colloquialism just kind of seems like a psyop, because if you push from one side or push from the other, then you're going to get just like explosive hate.
Yeah, I think that's where you should, like, people should really zoom in and focus in on, is the polarity itself is the psyop. Okay.
Right.
We live in a very diverse and spectral world. Like, things act on different levels, and to just zoom in on one single thing and blame that for everything, it doesn't matter what argument you're making, whether you're talking about geopolitics or whether you're talking about like trying to eliminate wolves from the ecosystem. Like it when you cause an imbalance like that, like you're not actually getting at the truth. You're not actually solving anything. And there are people who know how to manipulate our psychology like that, like on the drop of a dime.
Well, and as somebody who has like researched conspiracies, don't you find it weird that every time any psyop comes out, it always ends up being us versus them? Like that is the model of a psyop.
They just changed the definitions of who us is and who them is. I mean, and if people aren't getting echoes, especially people our age-ish, it's like, I remember when we went to war with Iraq and Afghanistan and all that, and there are very similar things going on in the propaganda and the way that they control us. I mean, this way of saying like, oh, we're not doing this, we're doing this. Oh, there's this threat here of this. It must be this easy to control people, I guess. I don't know.
So what, in your opinion, exactly what is it with the alt media, I guess? I don't really like calling it that, because I think that's kind of a disingenuous term. But do you believe that you know, some of the bigger names, the Tim Pools, the Ian Carrolls, or whoever, are they useful idiots, or are they like actual agents or like contractors pushing this full well knowing? I mean, that's speculation, of course.
It's probably a spectrum. However, it's come clear to me anyways over the years that certain people rise to a position where they can go on Joe Rogan, and it's not just your Joe Blow, like weekend warrior influencer, or meme maker or any of this. It's people who have already been vetted by some kind of establishment gatekeeper. And I don't mean like they all belong to the Illuminati. I don't mean they're all Freemasons. Certainly quite a few of them are. Certainly there's a lot of counterintelligence influencers. I don't even look. I don't watch major names. I just don't take it in anymore. I get the grace notes from like X and stuff of like, oh, this person was on Joe Rogan this week. But I can't even watch Joe anymore because it's like last year when he was doing the whole Trump thing and the whole RFK thing. It's like, dude, okay, I see right through it. You're the voice for the alt media, and you're the one who gets to approve what it's counterculture. That's what it is.
Right.
In counterculture, they nailed this. You were just streaming about this a few episodes ago. Like they nailed this down in the 60s, man.
Right.
They're not going to let counterculture rise up. They're not going to let they're in there. It's counterintelligence. Maybe it's not every single person. There are definitely some useful idiots because you want to portray Americans as idiots so that way they act idiotic.
Right. Well, and it does kind of seem like, so that with all the research into the 60s that I've been doing, it does seem like a lot of it was organic at the time, but now
some of it,
now that they infiltrated all of it, because towards the end, all of it was compromised. Now it seems like they took it just a whole step further and said, instead of just infiltrating these movements when we need to, we're just going to create them.
Yeah, you're what's that? A color revolution?
Yeah. I mean, this is like on the books that the CIA and FBI both do this, have done this, and continue to do this all over the world. And to think that we are immune from that here for some reason, it's
because
like
we're the good guys.
Right. And then it goes back to the us versus them.
Yeah, exactly. And literally in the word is the psychology. Us, US, United States versus them. That's right. It's what it is. And it's stuff like that, man. It's I don't know if it was authentic because honestly, I don't take the time to always check. But didn't the other day Trump tweet something or truth something that I'm gonna drop a Chris Christie on them? I definitely saw the memes.
That's actually pretty funny. That's the one thing I will say about him, no matter what. He is a funny guy, but he's a warmonger, just like.
But there, man, no, it's in the psychology. Remove some of the letters from that, and I believe there was a 33 or something in that tweet too. But Christ, Chris Christie has Christ within it. Your mind doesn't consciously register that stuff, but take that and multiply it by like infinity, man. And that's the entire internet we're consuming right now is subliminals. That's actually how they get us. That's what I think MK Ultra was mostly about. Is you see, one aspect of this we haven't even touched yet is artificial intelligence. And I'm actually somebody who has been tracking that from the very beginning. And not only that, like I took the time to actually learn how it's programmed, like took classes, paid for classes, got certified in AI programming. I mean, the minute I got to the end of the class, this was like summer 2024. I was like, oh shit, no, this is useless. Like they're just going to replace me with this. The thing that I'm learning how to code is going to code itself. But I've been harping on this since Maui because everybody went up in arms over, I need to paint my roof blue because lasers can't touch blue. That's ridiculous notion. First of all, you can just change the chroma key on the laser. You think the military's that's stupid? Second of all, it costs $4 billion per laser fire from a directed energy weapon. That's just facts from the Pentagon. You can go read it. Whereas it only takes $400 to create an AI chatbot legion of about 1,000 chatbots that can, in 2024's time, could generate images based off of however they wanted. You got to understand AI, people, is way ahead of what you're consuming. That's why OpenAI just won a $200 million defense contract. It's not because Grok's really good at making ape influencer videos. It's because they can generate entirely fake scenarios, entirely fake news, and cater it to specific individuals on a hyper marketing propagandized level. That's where we're at. We've been there for 10 years. I was
Right.
in San Francisco, and people were telling me that's where everything was headed. Micro marketing with NFC chips, or I mean, the radio chips, RFID.
Yeah. Right. Wanted to show this real quick for anyone who hasn't seen it. This is exactly what a bot farm looks like. Every single individual, let's see, it's not zoom in on that a little bit. Every single one of those is a profile, a social media profile. Those are all phones for
Yeah, I
anyone
just saw
who,
its phones for the first time.
right. And I mean, there's entire warehouses dedicated to this, and most likely the people you are arguing with, uh, regardless of what the argument is, it's a pretty good chance at this point that it's an entirely fictionalized person, somebody that doesn't even exist, that you're arguing computer code. So keep that in mind. And granted, I am terrible at this as well because I still argue online. But
there's real people, but I did
yes.
dead internet theory to try and boost the algo for me, like video a couple months ago. It didn't work. But basically where we're at and what we're publicly being told is 60 to 70% of all internet activity is actually AI generated bots. It's not just comments. It's also like, you know how Google changed? We used to be able to go to like the 10,000th page. That's part of it, is now you have AI generated fake websites that are being used to pad Google queries. So that way you never, I mean, unless you got to be real handy with keywords, folks. Like, being literate in this day and age actually is going to go a long way, especially as ChatGPT the MIT just came out with that research this week where it's just eroding people's ability to think. It's just they're not even retaining what they're putting in.
I saw a brain rot video the other day. I should have snagged it so I could have shown it, but it was really interesting. It was somebody sitting at a desk, and it showed their computer screen where they were attempting to write an essay, and they just sat there blankly. And then somebody, like in the video, said, I don't understand how people used to write essays without ChatGPT. And it's like, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen, because you're correct that we are losing our ability to think, our ability to function, and to be able to do things without the aid of some computer code.
But to bring it back, it's the subliminals. Okay. Have you seen all the articles about people getting messiah complexes and triggering psychosis and even schizophrenic hallucinations in people from interacting with ChatGPT? Now, some of this is obviously, almost everything in the news these days is some kind of drama, like to make you react a certain way. And they know how to like I'm saying, they know how to hyper personalize it now. However, I also am a huge advocate of do not start believing everything isn't real, because that is actually how you induce psychosis in people. That's running around going, that's not real, that's not real, I'm not real, you're not real. That just so happens to be one of the Nazi ideologies. Like, if you really get into the Blavatskyism stuff, or what, theocracy, whatever it's called, sophistry, theosophy. There we go.
Yes.
If you get into theosophy, it's essentially a weird worship of numbers where everything's energy, but you're contained within your own matter universe. So while you and I might be able to look at each other, there's no guaranteeing that either of us is real, other than just a numerical matrix-like projection of it. That's all Gnosticism. That is like straight from their book of thinking. And
that kind of seems like it ends up leading to nihilism as well, because
the same people.
The rejection of objective truth, which is usually what it comes down to. And I mean, if there was no objective truth, then nothing. This sounds kind of reductive and simplistic, but if objective truth doesn't exist, therefore nothing is true, therefore nothing matters.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a scary proposition.
Yeah, now imagine all the Nazis hopped up on meth and coke, going around Europe marching with that ideology as like, I am sworn to this. And not only that, it basically boils down to Nazism,
Right.
anyways. It is survival of the fittest. The best are the best, and therefore we deserve the best.
Right.
There's some truth in that in the world. I'm not saying there's not, but like, if you look into, say, the Jewish faith, not the Talmudic Jewish faith, but just Judeo-Christianity, even though people are calling that an oxymoron these days, it essentially says the opposite, that there is an objective truth, that there is objective morals, and that those things guide us spiritually throughout life to create a net benefitive outcome when we obey the law, right? Like,
Right.
so you have the law and the lawless is really all it is. And
Right.
it's just a really complicated way of saying the other. And that's, I mean, you want to get into Christianity and stuff, like that's what it says Satan's good at doing. The devil's good at appearing at an angel of light. He's the most
Right.
religious man you'll ever meet. He's God's advocate in the book of Job. He's like a lawyer. He's the prosecutor against the
Right.
sinner. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's a great deception. It's a great lie. The big lie, which actually comes from Nazism. It's the same concepts, just recycled over and over. And I mean, people should be noticing with ICE, like, where are all the deportees? Is it just
Right.
certain types of people getting deported, or are people accidentally getting deported as well? Who is ICE? Because I guarantee you they're not Homeland Security officers. They're paramilitary contractors. They're
Right.
wearing masks. They're hiding their identity. They look like Fed boys in any other circumstance, but because they put out the right ideology to the right crowd of people in America, it's something we cheer. It's something, well, I mean, it's something we dichotomously split on. Either you're so pro it, get rid of everybody who doesn't belong to be here, which would include Americans too, because I live in the land of Native Americans and they definitely don't think we should be here. Or, you know, I was just at a festival in my very liberal town yesterday, and people are making speeches just like, we're going to kill him with kindness and love your neighbor and peace. Let's get literally my sister-in-law is getting a text that some boy she's talking to in Texas is being deployed to the Middle East as we speak. Nobody's talking about that on the news, by the way. I haven't seen it yet. They're being deployed. It wasn't go in and get out. Like, nope. We're moving all assets back overseas, people. Get ready.
Right.
This isn't something we're going to cope and be able to get rid of, because at the end of the day, we don't have any power as people. Yes, like we have more numbers and we can fight them. But look at COVID. Look at what's happening right now. They put out a narrative and you believe it, and it becomes your ideology and your dopamine fix until the next narrative comes along.
Right.
That's power. It's psychology. That's where the war is.
I do find it interesting, though, at least, you know, using X as a thermometer, I guess. Seeing the massive anti-war push that I've never seen quite like that. Because I remember the night that Israel struck Iran, or Israel struck itself, depending on who you listen to or what video you see. But it's really interesting because I saw every single politician, left and right, come out and say, pray for Israel, do this, do that, Israel, Israel, Israel. You know, WMDs again. I swear it's the same thing recycled, just like you were saying. But then you go through and you dig through the post, and almost every reply is, you know, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, I can't believe you guys are falling for this. So I do find that kind of interesting. And I do see that, that anti-war narrative getting co-opted and manipulated again, even though, you know, I'm incredibly anti-war, always have been. And I do just see that being weaponized, although the pro-war side doesn't seem to be doing very well at their propaganda this time.
But that's what I'm saying. Does it matter? Because right now we have sworn into the army. In the past 2 weeks, I've seen this news recycled a lot. Big tech AI developers. You have AI contracts going out. My God, Palantir was a 1,200% return from 2023. I was invested, and I honestly felt like I got a divine message to get out of it. I
Right.
doubled my money, but I could have been a millionaire right now if I had just stayed in. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm glad I didn't, because look at the fucking blood money that they're spewing left and right. And it's not just going to be Iran, Israel. Like, the LA riots are going on at the same time. There's all the
Right.
talk. If you know what's coming, it's one of two outcomes here. We're going to have a digital ID lockdown where, like, robots or drones are used to police us, very Minority Report style, with pre-crime, because Palantir's working on pre-crime in Washington right now. I mean,
Right.
in all pre-crime, I could go on for days about AI. I hate AI, and I hate what's worse is that there is an AI machination, like created by AI, manipulation about what AI is incapable of. AI is not sentient. It will never be sentient.
Right.
That is not the end goal. The what it is a data collector. That is the best thing
Right.
AI is at. Is it is a data aggregator, a data analytics tool, and honestly, it sucks at its job a lot. But
Right. I wanted to ask you, what, since you're fairly knowledgeable about this, what about the I mean, I've seen some data coming out showing that AI is actually becoming more and more or less reliant. It's becoming more and more fraudulent, I guess. It seems as
yes,
though that the AI hallucinations that they call it, which I think is a hilarious term, but it's like it's making up data and giving it to us as correct data.
okay, so on that point, I actually can't explain the technical jargon there. So there's not enough data on the internet for a AI, which is mostly a language learning model. There are other versions of AI,
Right.
but that's mostly what we're dealing with in the public sphere, is just a sophisticated chatbot.
Right.
There's not enough data, especially in scientific data sets where they're using AI to, like, analyze data, that what AI does is, since it can't train itself except on, like, okay, it can't train itself to be 99 or in the 95 to 99% accuracy of predictive modeling
Right.
unless it has, like, exponential amount of data to work off of. So what it does is it takes the law of averages from the largest data set you can take, and then it randomly generates more data sets that are sticking to that average of your data sets, right? So the average data you might see in any kind of given data set, let's say, just say ages for Social Security, income, and dollars, right?
Right.
The amount of American citizens on Social Security isn't enough to inform the AI to make predictive modeling on Social Security costs. So it takes the average users and generates maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000, maybe 1,000,000 more data sets that are near enough to the real data sets to work off of that it can start to use the data to form a 95 to 99% accuracy model.
So it's basically making educated guesses based upon the
Yes.
available information.
Yes, and then it
And
creates
then it's
fake information to try and make more educated. It's a bias.
right.
That's all that. It's a sampling bias.
So it basically turns into a feedback loop, a positive
Yes,
feedback loop.
yes, because that's literally the programming that makes AI. Is called it's called recursive loops, feedback loops.
Right.
And it just goes back on itself 1,000,000 times in like 10 seconds, and that's why everybody's like, wow, this is so amazing, because it's a very fast supercomputer. I'm not doubting that, but it has no humanity. It has no ability to conceive of humanity. And for people to think that that is the psyop, and then that's, I think, all AI really is doing, because you can trace it back through MK Ultra, you can trace it back through the Tavistock, you can trace it all the way back to what's his name, Babbage, the first computer guy, the 1880s. Like, that is when computers started. I know that people have different dates in their mind about that, but this is when people were researching what's it called, cybernetics. That is when the first cybernetics started going out. Cybernetics is 100% connected to the Rockefellers, all the normal names,
Right.
the people who were behind funding MK Ultra, and guess what? The Nazis, because
Right.
they used IBM to track all the Jews that apparently they didn't track, even though we have that technology from then. That's the other
Right.
problem, is the Holocaust denial. Guess what? All the Holocaust survivors died, and now all of a sudden, within 5 years, like we can say that it's fake, and World War II is fake, and Hitler was right, and the Nazis were right. Like it's ridiculous. It's so plain to see that it's not correct. My grandpa fought in World War II. I mean,
Same.
the man was traumatized for life. He never wanted to speak about it. I don't think he was just going over there and was like, wow, my German compatriots are so awesome. Like,
yeah, right. Well, and maybe this is like my bias as a researcher and as a person who kind of just sees through the bullshit most of the time. It does seem like, because of October 7th, like whatever that event actually was, it kind of seems like it's an overcorrection, right? Because it went from never being able to question anything, and now everyone's gone hog wild and way overcorrected, because obviously there were things about pretty much any historical event that are never 100% true, because history is written by the victors. So you're going to get one side of the story, obviously. But now it's gone from, well, we weren't told the exact truth, or this truth was stretched, or whatever it may be, into all of history is fake now.
yeah. Do you remember the Tartaria trend?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Drives me
Where's
nuts.
Tartaria now? Where are you guys?
Right.
Made it to Joe Rogan, and then poof.
Right.
I think Tartaria was a psychological test. There are Russian documents that detail the Tartars, and I have friends who are actually Tartars, like European Tartars. Right. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm saying the field test of seeing whether or not they could make up something in history wholesale, and how well, especially our community, would buy it, because we're the skeptics, and every society needs skeptics and cynics and people to question authority. Like, we have our part in society just as much as the person who goes to work every day and doesn't question anything has their part. We need worker bees. We need philosopher kings. It's just the way it works.
Right.
But like a lot of counterintelligence, and I don't just mean the CIA when I say counterintelligence. A lot of counterintelligence works with disinformation, and we should all know this from COVID, because literally MIT and the CIA got together to do a study, analyzed 500,000 tweets to put into an AI algorithm, I guess, and see like, how do we combat anti-max sentiments? This is in 2020. That's how early that thing was, and we still had another 2 years ahead of us. Like, whoever they is, they have full access to what we are talking about online when we're getting close to the things they don't want us to find, and then they just send in their useful idiots or their useful agents or their paid talking heads to go in and either sully the narrative or do it completely. We were just talking about LA riots, and then boom, a war starts. It's like, okay, what happened to the Epstein files? What happened to last year? I mean, what happened to Biden? Are we going to get any answers on anything ever again?
Right.
Because at least, people might have been not awake or stupid or whatever in the 70s or whatever you want to call it. But at least there was a certain degree of truth, honesty, integrity in media and politics. Like, because one, it wasn't fully controlled at that point. It was definitely well on its way by the 70s. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there were still people, we used to talk about them in the conspiracy theory world. People were getting whacked. Senators who were getting whacked because they were just way too close to hitting something they shouldn't. I think that's gone now. I think 2020 took away a lot of the integrity. Like, people either got on board in 2020 with whatever the government and the world government wanted, or they were ousted, man. And there's no real name one politician you think is fighting the good fight,
Right.
Especially on a federal level. But then you have the George Soroses of the world who, okay, I can't pay for lobbying on a federal level, but look how cheap, like it's pennies to buy people on a local level. So then you just have local district judges everywhere. I live in New Mexico, and it is catch and release here for murder. You go in, you serve 3 to 6 months, and you're back out, dude. Repeat offenders too. Like
Right.
that is somebody being
pretty much that's pretty much the same thing here for because I live in the state of Utah, and it's pretty much the same thing for any sexual crime. Like we are number 3 in the country for like the lowest conviction rates for any sexual crimes, whether adult, children, doesn't matter. You know, it pretty much just let it happen, for lack of a better way to describe it.
That's a lot about Utah's history.
Right.
That state is full of mysteries. There's like 4 states in America that if you're a conspiracy theorist, you should really look into. And it's New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, and Idaho. They hold all the secrets, guys. On the East Coast, they have their own things like West Virginia. But like those 4, tell me like Europeans, if you're out there listening, tell me any facts about those 4 states I just named.
Right. Yeah, no. My opinion is Utah's probably the most important state that nobody's paying attention to. Mm-hmm. I mean, we even have this is where the Process Church of the Final Judgment decided to settle. Like
I've been to that town. Is it still in Kanab?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been through that town. It's one of those serendipitous conspiracy moments. Yeah, that's a small little town. I went to the McDonald's. There's a diner. There's a gas station. That's it. It's like right by Navajo Nation, like on the other side of it.
Yeah, and it's wild. Almost the whole town is controlled by members or sympathizers. And that town, it just seems like you're being watched the whole time you're there.
Oh, really?
It's just creepy. It is just creepy. And before Dana started blowing up and everything, I saw her thread on the process settling here, and I had no idea at the time, and that kind of just blew my mind because I had been through that area before, not knowing, and always just got a creepy feeling, and then it makes a lot more sense. But I mean, Utah, even outside of all of that, has connections to the UN, which the UN has pretty much taken over this state. So we actually just got the contract for the 2032 Winter Olympics, I believe. And by 2032...
Wait, didn't you guys just have the Olympics?
Yeah, in 2002.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So we got the second contract, and it's really interesting what happened, because right after the first Olympics is when we got the NSA data center and all of the fusion centers for DHS.
Oh, I see. So the Olympics are a chance to spy on and recruit spies from other countries. Interesting.
Yes. And what's even more interesting is now the entire state is wired up under high-speed internet and, the surveillance state, basically, even rural areas in our state. And it's all controlled by one company who was started by our current governor's family. No surprise there. But 2032 is actually supposed to be the unveiling of smart towns and smart cities, all of this New World Order technology. It's going to be the unveiling to the world. We are currently building a 15-minute city in South Salt Lake area. It's called The Point. Even the World Economic Forum wrote an article about it and was praising it as a a leap forward in ingenuity and city planning and all of these things. It's just disgusting. And so Utah is basically going to be the state that the entire world looks um, to show investors for other states, other cities. This is what a smart city can do. This is what the new world order tech can do. And so if anyone wants to see what the future is like, make sure and watch the 2032 Olympics here in Utah, because that's exactly what all other 49 states will be.
That's not fun. I don't want to be like Utah at all. No offense.
No,
It's a very beautiful.
I don't want
state.
Utah to be like Utah.
It's very weird, especially the closer you get to the Salt Lake City there.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. I'll have to share this with you after our stream. But I found a Well, I didn't find the document. Somebody found a document that this was in the early 2000s. It was a naval intelligence document that showed exactly how to break down the independent culture of Utah and how to replace it with a culture of people who respect and will put their lives on the line for authority, which is exactly what they've done here.
Yeah, that's well, I mean, there's one major religion there that kind of controls most of the state.
Right.
Is your governor Mormon?
I can't remember. I think so.
Yeah, I thought for a minute he wasn't, and I was like, that'd be weird for Utah, huh? Yeah, no, in New Mexico, well, to rope it back into like the Nazis there, this actually is the state where the most Nazis came to, other than maybe Rochester, New York.
Right.
They went to White Sands and they went to Los Alamos, where they built the bomb and where they test the rockets that Wernher von Braun brought over. All that technology, all those that were built with slaves underground in underground facilities in Germany and Eastern Europe there.
Right.
And, there's lots of underground facilities in New Mexico as well. We're famous for everything conspiracy, and yet nobody knows a damn thing about us. Epstein's Ranch is about an hour away from where I sit. I tracked down that one guy. What's his name? Timothy Wiley. Yeah. I tracked down his house. He's out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. What are you doing over there, guy? Well, he's gone now, but I plan to drive down there and see. We've got the United World College, the USA campus, which is like a globalist recruiting thing, just tucked behind this tiny little town you would never pay attention to. I think it was an old railroad town. The labs, obviously, but on top of those labs, you have Sandia Labs down in Albuquerque, and you've got Kirtland Air Force Base. You've got lots of stuff going on here. Lots of UFOs. I've seen a UFO, quote unquote. Who knows what to call it? I think it was a laser show from Sandia Labs. But if you ask a Sandia Labs employee, they don't have lasers there.
Right. Of course not. Now, what do you think that it is? There's one narrative that has popped up recently that's been covered by, some people I actually like. But I find it incredibly odd is the belief that nuclear weapons do not exist.
I'm honestly leaning towards that direction. I think definitions is always a game we need to play. Like what defines a nuclear bomb? Because you could also just look at it as a very large munition bomb. It's hard to say. I think I don't really care. I personally don't believe that there will ever be a full-out nuclear war. I just don't believe it.
I agree.
And I don't think there might be one or two more nukes dropped just to make a point. And I've got a friend who swears it's going to be in Sydney to just cause the whole world to go nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one too. There's a lot of Australian conspiracy predictive programming images over there about it too. But I think the thing everybody should focus the most on and ask the most questions about, which I guess technically I'm cribbing from Q, but I don't think Q invented this. MK Ultra, the August 3rd, 1977, Senate Select Committee investigation into MK Ultra. That's the one Joe Biden sat on. That started 24 hours before Jimmy Carter created the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy is who handles nuclear reactors, nuclear bombs.
Right.
They have the top security clearance in the country. Q security clearance. It's where the QAnon stuff comes from. It's supposed to be some guy who's on the inside. And Stranger Things took place at the Department of Energy in Indiana, right? That's right. I don't know if you're familiar. I think that MK Ultra, CIA experiments on humans got into hot water in the 70s when some of it feels timed, like scripted, but I'm really wondering what's happening because the guys who broke the Nixon Watergate stuff, which is kind of how we got into finding out about MK Ultra as a country, I know one of them was a Freemason and one of them was a Skull and Bones member. So you have to ask yourself, like, can we trust anything that anybody with those kind of affiliations says?
Right.
I think it was a limited hangout, MK Ultra. Most people think of Frank Olson and LSD. But right. MK Ultra is so much more than that, and it literally is COVID. COVID comes from MK Ultra, basically genetic.
100%.
My theory on COVID is that it's a modified virus that has the spike protein on it, which is genetically modified to carry an amino acid that acts like a psychedelic drug. That's your through line from MK Ultra. And there's a lot of proof about it because it connects to your 5-HT2A receptors, which is your psychedelic receptors in your body.
Right.
Like LSD kind of works like a cure to COVID in a lot of ways. And so does nicotine for that matter. Like if you have long COVID, those things are recognized as therapeutic and beneficial. I do not advocate psychedelics for anybody, but there is definitely a lot of truth. And it is interesting that there's that through line from MK Ultra, the CIA, bioweapons, which early 100s sub projects was you start to get into the bioweapons. I think it goes into the 120s. They were trying to come up with ways like, can we weaponize chemicals? Like glyphosate was made by MK Ultra. That's not one that's ever reported on. But Frank, I can't remember his name at the moment. John Franz, I think that's his name. He created glyphosate for, what's their names? Monsanto. Yep. Monsanto's two recruiting schools are the University of Minnesota and the University of Missouri, both of which had MK Ultra programs there. Harold Hodge, who everybody should know is the guy who put fluoride in our water. He was president of the Society of Toxicology and then started working for the CIA. I think he was probably recruited by Gottlieb. He was working at the University of Minnesota when John Franz was at the University of Minnesota, and the sub-project was specifically dosing his students with LSD. So I do think John Franz got dosed by his professor with LSD and got recruited by Monsanto, which is a bunch of Nazis.
Right.
Which, but Bayer,
curiously
Monsanto,
enough, owned by Bayer now.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Bayer wasn't technically Nazis. I think they got dissolved in the First World War, but they were German. Then they got sold to America, England, and maybe France. I don't know. France always.
Well, and IG Farben absorbed a lot of Bayer when they got broken up, and IG Farben was Nazi, so.
Then it was one of them that got dissolved. Their patents got sold or for free to the Americas and the good guys in World War II as a punishment to Germany. You guys aren't allowed to make money off of chemical weapons, which is a large part of what they were doing in Operation Paperclip. America, England, and France and Russia were recruiting Nazis who were involved in the biochemical weapons.
Right.
And so, I don't know. COVID, I think it was a drug first and foremost, and a bad one at that. That used a virus as the messenger because the spike protein goes through the blood-brain barrier, and that's what you need to do in order to absorb DMT-like drugs, is get through the blood-brain barrier.
Right. Now, going back to the nuke thing, I do agree that or I my personal opinion at this point is that the weapons, nuclear warheads and stuff, they did and do exist, but it's nowhere near like the capabilities or capacities in which we are told.
There's certainly that aspect too.
Right. And well, I just think it's really odd that if you say that nukes don't exist, then it's really easy to deny the Apollo affair to a government who stole nuclear material, enriched uranium, that does not sign nuclear treaties, that does not allow inspections of their nuclear sites, and is not held to mutually assured destruction treaties. And I just find that incredibly odd that it kind of swept through the conspiracy narrative or the conspiracy community. So I do think that there's something to it that, it's not as prominent. Like, they say the US has like 20,000, Russia has like 32,000 or something like that, enough to just end all humanity. I don't know if I buy that. But I do find it interesting that there's a whole aspect of MK Ultra that was nothing but nuclear radiation testing. There's a project, I think it's Sunshine or Starbeam, no, Sunshine, which one of the most horrific projects that I've ever read about, and taking newborn cadavers and exposing them to radiation to see exactly what would happen, which was all Nazi experimentation at the time. And
everything in medicine comes from freaking Nazi or Japanese human experimentation. That's the crazy part.
Right. And
like the first chemotherapy was developed from mustard gas from World War One. Right. Like, they were like, let's rejig this and inject it into people. Like, who comes up with that kind of stuff?
Right.
Geniuses, scholars.
Well, and I think that was kind of the price for the US getting involved, was all of these patents and the information. If I remember right, I've read somewhere that Truman would not get involved with boots on the ground until the UK decided to hand over some patents and some information. We weren't really after money per se, but we were after the information, which is why we got the first pick of all of the top scientists, and why thousands of them, not just, I think the official story is like 1,200, whereas it's looking more like 3,000 to 4,000 actually ended up coming over in various capacities, from rocket science, propulsion, of course, like physicists, but then you have also the medical doctors, which nobody ever talks about. So I don't know. It just seems like there's these ideas that just come out of kind of nowhere. And I saw it on Joe Rogan the first time, because they were discussing, everyone knows of the nuclear films, like the black and white of the house exploding, and then like the trees exploding and everything. And I'll give it to that narrative that those videos do look fake. But then the people who say that no nukes exist ever, never discuss any of the atmospheric tests. And it's overreaching result that's still lasting.
I could be misspeaking, but I really think the no nukes theory was largely out of QAnon.
That would make sense.
I've never seen it almost anywhere else. However, I don't discriminate against any conspiracy theory. Like, I laugh at Tartaria, but like, there's tons of great stuff in there. We did do a great erasing of great civilization right around World War One, turn of the century. Like, that did happen.
Right.
Now, were they growing kids in cabbage patches? I know that that's a metaphor, but no, I don't think we had like clones and incubators yet. But I do think humanity goes through cycles of technological advancement. I don't think we're the first people to have computers or telescopes or lasers. Like, I'm not saying like the ancient Egyptians used computers to build the pyramids. However, I think that there's aspects of human intelligence where, yeah, technology is one aspect of it, but human ingenuity like transcends all that. And
Right.
there can be other options available to us that our ancestors practice that we just have no idea about. And that's the real
Right.
problem with our modern world, is we are inundated with propaganda that tells us we're at the peak of everything ever.
Right.
And I don't believe that, first and foremost.
Same.
And that's where I think, like, okay, so you can't write QAnon off. I mean, listen, all my CIA friends, all my paramilitary friends love fucking QAnon. Eat that shit up as though it's gospel. And I think that should tell you everything you need to know. Like, the military runs psychological programs on its own military members.
Right.
Has anybody ever considered that? Like,
Right.
if I were to join the CIA, I don't think they would put me at Sidney Gottlieb's or Alan Dulles' level. And look at Frank Olson. He worked for the CIA. The story with Frank Olson is he just went out to dinner with his bosses one night and they dosed him without his permission. He went home and spilt the news to his wife, and so they killed him. That's all there is to that story. They can lie about it all they want. They can discredit the man all they want. No, loose lips mean you get shot in the back of the head. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, but everybody knows that. That's common sense. Get rid of people spilling secrets.
There's a recent author, this man right here, John Leasley, professor at the University of Texas, Austin, who believes that Frank Olson actually just killed himself because he had a mental break.
Could be. I mean, he definitely had a mental break. I'll give that.
Oh, he had a mental break, but then everyone he hung out with after that dosing was a spook.
Yeah, but then
who
also
were trained in psychological warfare.
Who admitted that they were messing with him. Right. And also the hospital he died in was an MK Ultra facility. So
Right. And I mean, the person that stayed with him in the room was Robert Lashbrook, which
that guy's all over the FOIA, like Robert Lashbrook and the other guy. But I think Robert Lashbrook, isn't that the one who like ran the prostitute rings in San Francisco?
Yeah. So Midnight Climax, and he ran him in San Francisco and in New York. He was the one that started the New York program. He left the operation over there, put somebody in charge, and then came over to San Francisco. And I mean, the dude was a complete train wreck, and he was a terrible person, but he was given full security clearance and was able to set up all sorts of programs all over the place. Because although Midnight Climax is focused on, because that's like the big one that we have documents on, they were doing this all over the States,
They're doing it internationally too.
Right.
That's how they got Lee Harvey Oswald. They had a prostitution ring down in Mexico. He goes down to Mexico right before, and I guarantee you,
right.
The thing is people say he had a predilection for younger girls. He was being emasculated by his Russian pharmacist wife. And I screw Stephen King, man. Like, why the hell would you lie about all this shit? It's right there for you. I think the thing is he got honeypotted by a teenager in Mexico while he was down there, and they said, Lee, if you want to live, you need to be in that book depository at this time on this date. I think it's as simple as that. So I'm saying, you really look into conspiracy theories, like they're not as crazy as you think. It's just you have to spend enough time sorting through all the information to really get the ring of truth. It's the same thing with Epstein. I mean, I don't think our narrative that we have of Epstein is at all correct. And I think he's the useful patsy over and over again. That's not to say, here's what I want to clarify. I don't think, having investigated at least now 80 names connected in Epstein's black book, and I'm by no means through even a good chunk of it, I don't think it has anything to do with human trafficking or
interesting
young people sex. I think it's there, but I think it's a symptom, like a side part of it. I think what they were doing was actually setting like Bilderberg shit. Because you look at who he's talking with, I think Epstein is directly implicated in the death of Diana. I don't know how. I don't know British royalty stuff. I don't know that conspiracy theory of them all that well.
I mean,
literally,
him and Ghislaine were right there, though, because Ghislaine introduced him to all the socialites.
Yeah, and really, it's Ghislaine who people should focus on more than Jeffrey. I think he was just an upstart. Robert Maxwell,
kind of a scapegoat.
Yeah, Robert Maxwell can be fully implicated in the Profumo affair and also the Cuban Missile Crisis by extension. So there's your JFK connection that people want. Like, and I don't know how it looks. I don't know how you get from A to B, but it's all the same people. His Black Book isn't a collection of just chomos. It is a collection of globalists. It's a collection of people who, I mean, Enron comes up over and over again in Epstein's book. Like, whatever Enron was doing, we didn't get the full picture. They were laundering money for these guys. And guess who else is connected to Enron? Candace Owens' father-in-law. Okay, I haven't found him in. I don't like Candace Owens and Ian. They make me so angry because it's I don't like gatekeepers in this community. Like, piss off. This is for weirdos, not for people who want to talk about like real politics. Like it. And Ian this past year has been part of more disinformation than I would have ever handed to the guy. I mean, everybody should have realized when he endorsed RFK Jr., like, you don't even need to go looking that hard to find dirt on RFK Jr. That guy sucks.
Right.
He's a heroin smuggler, a convicted felon heroin smuggler, served time, or maybe did community service. But he was able to take the bar 6 months later. Like, that's not somebody who's a hero of the people. That's somebody who's got a privileged daddy, like, or granddaddy.
And he's a Kennedy.
Yes, and the Kennedys worked with the mafia, and you mentioned Lashbrook. He worked with the mafia, and the mafiosos worked with the Vatican, who worked with the Nazis. Like, and not in any one of those chains do I see Jews. I don't. Israel.
Well, I mean, the mafia though. The mafia though, because
there is a part of the Jewish
Italian
mafia in New York, but the Italians definitely hated the Jews. And if you don't think that, like, you don't know history or Italian.
That the Israeli or Jewish mafia, I mean, that ties into Trump, because you've got Roy Cohn, who pretty much taught Trump everything that he knows. I mean, Roy Cohn was the one that received all the blackmail against J. Edgar Hoover and successfully blackmailed the FBI for J. Edgar Hoover's almost entire career. So
the guy was cross-dressing. I don't know what he expected.
I know. And then Trump ends up buying that hotel where the Blue Velvet Room was, which is where they started the blackmail stuff. You know, it's like,
oh, that's why Tesla's a distraction from all that.
Right.
That's interesting. No, what I was going to say is Jews in Israel have their flaws. I'm not saying they're flawless people who can do no wrong at all. I think a lot of Americans in the conspiracy world have it wrong, though. I think the Mossad and CIA are competing entities. And I think Israel sunk the USS Liberty because you've literally got Nazis sitting next to Kennedy and Johnson who, like, if we housed, which we do, if somebody housed our mortal enemy, right, America's mortal enemy, the equivalent of Hitler or Bin Laden or whoever is the enemy of the day, like, don't you think we would want to go get that? Like, if they're actively doing things. So I think it's just the same. We took Nazis, we put them in positions of power, we paid them tons of money, and we developed weapons from them. Don't you think Israel has a stake in that? Like, that's why they seem to fight against America sometimes. I mean, it's like, hey, don't remember that we can fucking do this anytime. Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Maxwell did infiltrate Los Alamos Labs and give it a bugged software, like in the late 1970s, or 77 or 79. Like, that did happen, and he did it on behalf of Mossad. But the thing about Robert Maxwell is he did not only work for Mossad. He was not only a Jewish Israeli agent. Guy was a prostitute. He would take money from anybody and everybody who would give it to him.
Lots of spies are, you know.
And guess
Well,
who
and-
was on his yacht in 1989 for his birthday? Donald Trump.
Right. Who ended up owning his yacht, which was used for blackmail.
Oh, really? Did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, he bought his yacht that was wired up for blackmail, which is incredibly interesting. And see, I think the Jewish aspect to this, like, a lot of people don't realize a lot of these people at the top who are maybe ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish.
Not at all. Not, and I would not ever say that they are. But
Right.
then people
they're
go at it
ginos, Jews in name only.
There's only the synagogue of Satan living in Israel, and all Jews are actually fake Jews. Well, one, you obviously don't know the Jewish diaspora, because if you're going to sit here and say that every single Jewish person in the world is a Khazar, like, you're stupid.
Right.
Like,
well, and I mean, that is stupid to make an absolute statement like that. And anyone who does is being dishonest, or they're being manipulated.
and not all Jews are Talmudic Jews. In the Talmud, for people who don't know, the Jews got captured around 600, 500 BC, shipped off to Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar rule. And while they were there, they picked up Babylonian magic, because that's what the Babylonians do. They got magic. And then they wrote a whole bunch of books and a whole bunch of weird laws. And then that's literally what Jesus is yelling about in the Gospels. He's like, you guys are not practicing God's laws. You guys are not doing this. But that wasn't all Jews. That was certain sects of Jews, just like it is today. It's
right.
There are certain sects, yes, who are lying and not religiously or spiritually in the right. But you can say that about literally, it's like saying that all white Americans are actually German. I'm not German.
Same. You know, it's, well, and this is the nuance that gets lost in a psyop, though, because you still have not every Catholic, you know, not every Catholic is in favor of the crimes against children, but there are some. Not every school teacher is also in favor of the crimes against children, but lots of them are. Not all of them, but there are them. This is, I think, what happens when emotion is used to manipulate us, like you were stating earlier. It's these algorithms to the point, and this is what came from Facebook, right? The algorithms pushing emotion and emotional reaction to a lot of these things, and then once you're emotional in either direction, is what allows people to make mistakes, like making absolute statements that all of this certain type of person, and it's like, you guys are just ignoring the law of averages, statistics, the bell curve. It's not everybody, obviously.
Yeah, and all I think that people, I'm not going to sit here. I mean, I personally do stand with Israel, but for different reasons. Like, literally, fucking Ted Cruz stole my fucking line, and I'm like, oh great, now I got to find other biblical verses because you just butchered that one. There's people up at top who will say anything to get you to believe them. I'm not one of those people. I have a spiritual investment, and I have some spiritual understanding from my own life experiences that makes me stand with Israel. Okay. I'm also Jewish, so I understand what the fall of it means for me. But they, like anybody else on earth, have flaws, have certain things that need to happen. I fully think America will raise the world against Israel one day in war. I think that's going to happen. We're going to turn on them. But like, all that aside, like, we need to be able to have conversations about it without it just being a complete knee jerk. I made that meme the other day. I don't know if you saw, but I've heard 3 lines so far in the past, I don't know, couple weeks. And it's all Jews belong to the synagogue of Satan. Like, they're frauds. The other one, that all Freemasons are Jews too. Like, that, you clearly don't know anything about Freemasonry.
Right.
I stand on the side of children not getting killed. Like, that is a propaganda line that you're being fed. Like, everybody stands on the side of children not getting killed. Like, it's a fallacy. It's a logical fallacy that makes it easy to say bullshit. And then, yeah, I can't even remember the other one, but it's just like, we're being spoon fed. It's like, I try to enumerate things online, but it doesn't always work. we're in that transitional period of March to June 2020, where we are being spoon-fed new psychology and new talking points, like you need to mask up or you don't need to mask up, or if you go to a restaurant or restaurants need to close, it's this transition time where nobody knows what's going on. Reality is shifting, and the people who are running the psychological machines are telling us what camps to fall in based off of our individual responses, individual beliefs, and like just demographics. Like, we're both males. Like, I'm guessing you're in your 30s.
Yep.
Yeah,
Early
so
30s.
we're both males in our 30s. You said you're married. I'm married. Like, we're a specific demographic that's being targeted. And not only that, they have 30 years of us watching television to go off of, all of those layered things, especially when we were younger. There was all sorts of things about the Illuminati, about all this stuff. It disappeared now because there's new programming, but like, there's subliminals in everything that we consume, and that goes into our programming as to whether or not you turned out a millennial communist or you turned out a millennial MAGA. Like, that was programmed into you. And the smartest people I meet transcend politics. Listen, in the past 3 years since I've been doing this, like, which side, Republicans or Democrats, that I stand with on a particular issue flip-flops like twice a month.
Yeah, especially
but my
now.
views stay the same. It's that's part of it too. It's like, you want to get into some Masonic imagery. Those two pillars are like a battery, a positive and a negative pole. And if you're constantly switching the current between both sides, you're building up energy. That's what's happening.
Well, and I find it interesting because, as stated before, I have always been anti-war. And now, once again, I am aligned with the left for some reason on that.
Yeah.
Because those are the most inconsistent motherfuckers on the planet. Like,
I call them
anti-war
useful
left
idiots,
is back.
and the rights are useful belligerents. And I think that's the easiest way to. The rights will go out and do something, and the left will they'll believe whatever you tell them. Right. Like, guys, this is what we're doing now. We're actually racist again. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. No, and I don't know. I'm sure it is for you as well, but it's incredibly frustrating for me to see, because all I see is people. I hate to call people sheep, because I do think it's insulting, even though that is a perfect descriptor. I just see people being led around by their noses, and it's just so disappointing. I get frustrated seeing when things are so obvious, and yet they just don't even care to question or think at all. Like, nobody on the left notices that they're being led in a particular way, or anyone on the right, same thing. I think we've started seeing a lot of voting regret, realizing that Trump is not what he said, right? And before the election, I was screaming, this is going to turn out like every politician ever. And everyone said, no. And here we are. Trump sold us out. And we're going to another endless Middle Eastern war.
I don't know.
WMDs.
There's something weird going on. I try to follow the OSINT on this stuff pretty closely, and we're getting 4 conflicting narratives of what even happened yesterday. So this is what counterintelligence does, folks. Disinfo. Because I saw that the bombers that everybody saw on the news were decoys, but then they weren't decoys, but then they were decoys, and we attacked, but we didn't. We're at war, but we're not. I don't think anything's set in stone, but I do think we are headed into a new chapter, and it's not a fun one. That's the only thing I can say for sure, is not to be a doomer, but like, buckle up, prepare, folks. Like, don't
Brace for impact.
don't get. We had a nice 2-year reprieve from COVID. It was nice. I knew the whole time it wasn't over, and it's not. It's coming back, and it's going to look different, and people are going to fall for it. And honestly, the people who didn't fall for COVID are the most likely targets to fall for what's coming.
Right. I think that's why they wanted to be able to pinpoint everyone who didn't fall for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they are creating propaganda purely for, like, we'll say it, anti-vaxxers, like COVID anti-vaxxers. Like, they're coming for you. They know who you are. They know how to fool you. Like, they're coming for you.
Yep.
So be vigilant.
Keep your head on the swivel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, I did want to switch over to some of the things that you brought up. So what do you got for us?
Oh, man. So those of you who know me know all about the meteorite cult. It's hard to explain, but essentially every single, including the Masons, secret society, mystery school, mystery cult, can all be traced back to meteorites, actually. My flat earthers go nuts on me when I talk about meteorites, because some people don't believe meteorites exist. I don't know what meteorites are, but essentially, how to break this down? Let me see. I got this up. Yeah. Essentially, like, there are these accounts in antiquity of meteorites falling from the sky as pre-carved statues of the gods. There's only 2 I've ever been able to track down that were bona fide actual statues, and that's the Pallas Athena, and the one I just showed, the Artemis of Ephesus, who was in the second world wonder, or largest world wonder, the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, that's in Turkey.
Right.
So this allegedly fell from the sky just like this, and that's why they worshipped it. There's a Bible verse that speaks to it, that like corroborates that story, but nobody ever talks about this stuff. But every single pantheon of every single god of the Greek pantheon, essentially their mystery cult in their temple housed a meteorite specific to them, right? So here's Cyprian, Aphrodite, Beetleless, just to show another one I know we have. So this is on Cyprus right now, the island of Cyprus, in their museum. It's called a beetle. It's a sacred black stone, but there is one for each and every god of the pantheon.
Interesting.
And well, it gets even more interesting. So essentially, I think I had it in here. Through a lot of research, because I spent 2 years really deeply researching this thread. It's basically like your Illuminati bloodline theory, right? Like, all the ruling people come from the same families that are committing incest.
Right.
That descend from who we perceive as the gods. Me, as a Bible-believing man, I think they're Noah's near descendants, like the first 3 generations after the flood.
Interesting.
Because they lived longer, according to the Bible, and they were much bigger, like giants, right?
Right.
And I think as time went on, through like Chinese whispers or something, like, we started to call them gods, because, like, if somebody 30-foot showed up to you and was 500 years old, you would probably think they're a god too.
Right.
Especially remembering before the flood, if you are disposed to that. And so I think meteorites have a unique way of preserving DNA.
Right.
Let me see if I can even find this. Meteorite DNA. No, not A. Get out of here. Yeah, so the OSIRIS-REx mission sample from asteroid Bennu, that was in the past 2 years, folks, if you're not into space, contains the building blocks of DNA, including all 5 nucleobases and 14 of the 20 amino acids essential for life. And, whoops, I didn't even let that matter. So basically, DNA can be preserved on stones and on meteorites in specific ways. You also have a lot of people suggesting that fungus and other like molds and stuff that can cause psychedelic trips come from space. Panspermia,
Well,
have you heard of that?
and that's kind of the theory, right, of how uh, bacteria that ended up on Earth was how it started was meteorites crashing in, and then it spread throughout the planet when it was in development.
Yeah, and so I think you can see a lot of it in the Osiris myth. Are you familiar with the Osiris myth?
Not really.
Okay, well, essentially, it's Hamlet or Lion King, the evil Uncle Set, which honestly is
Right.
an epithet for Jews back in the day. So the evil Jew, the long nosed Set in Egyptian culture,
Right.
it, killed Osiris. I think it was Melchizedek or Shem, Noah's first son. The father of the Semites, the Shemites, and
Right.
Osiris is Nimrod, who is Gilgamesh. And there's a lot of people who have done a lot of research on this over the years. But if you believe in the Bible and you believe the people, I think that this makes the most sense that the Freemasons made a worship of Osiris Nimrod. Nimrod
Right.
being the builder of the Tower of Babel, the great mason.
Right.
The idea is that he had knowledge from the before times. Because Atlantis is essentially that myth that the anything that existed before Noah's flood was like Atlantis, this perfect society that we just have to get back to.
Right.
And so essentially Osiris was killed by his brother, dismembered in one of the versions into 14 pieces. His wife Isis puts him back together, but his phallus is missing, so she creates a magical phallus for him, and then she copulates with him as a corpse, and he's able to give her Horus. This is the actual mythology.
Right.
And Horus is I mean, that's your Illuminati, the
Right.
Eye of Horus and all that stuff. So the idea, I think, of the meteorite cult, because I call it the meteorite cult, I'm not the only person who's looked into it, but I definitely think I'm looking at it as a more holistic, contained theory of everything.
Right.
Is there's these worships of meteorites that contain the DNA of the old gods like Osiris or Aphrodite and stuff like that, and they protect these meteorites and as a form of immortality without God, like vampirism. Right. So I think it's threefold. Like you have the bloodlines, because some people look at your descendants as an extension of you. Like, I mean, there's a lot of MK Ultra mind control stuff, Satanist stuff that talks about emptying your child's vessel, so that way you can put a spirit in it, and the spirit is one of your ancestors. It's very Masonic, by the way.
Right. Yeah, that comes up a lot in like the Temple of Set.
Yeah, and there's people who actually believe and practice it, so it's you might not believe it, but they do. And then there's also just, I think, theurgy in general, like emptying your own vessel. Like alchemy, that's really what alchemy is to empty your vessel, so that way a spirit can possess you and you can become more than a man.
Right.
And then also this idea of like these meteorites, because the people who would guard the meteorites, because these are bona fide. The Black Stone of Sybil is what is inside the side of the Kaaba, the cube in Mecca there.
Right.
That is, I mean, I've traced it. It's pretty easy to trace, but essentially.
So how does this, and maybe this is like as a sidebar, but how does this coincide with like the cult of Saturn?
So Saturn is Kronos.
Right.
Kronos is Zeus's father, and he has his own Omphalos. That one was the very famous battle at Delphi, the Temple of Apollo. Right? This is a model of it. This is kind of maybe what it's supposed to have looked like. They don't have it. This stuff is lost. But essentially, Kronos is Saturn. Saturn is Kronos. Kronos is Cush. Cush is the father of Nimrod. So Baal. So like Cush is Ham's son. Then there's a whole there's a whole extra biblical Jewish mythology you can get into with Ham, but I don't know if you're familiar. Maybe you saw the Noah movie with Russell Brand, or wait, not Russell Brand, the other guy, the Gladiator guy, Russell Crowe. But essentially, like, Noah curses Ham for seeing him naked in the Bible. And there's a lot of weird interpretation of it. One of it being that, so basically after the flood, the dictate from God was to go forth and multiply.
Right.
So you're familiar with the Amazons, right?
Yes.
I think what was happening, if you take all of this mythology and put it together, there were some pretty big boys, the Titans, like Nimrod and co, the people we think of as gods, and they were going around kind of like our elite today and making hundreds of children, just finding women anywhere and having, I think it was the law of the land, like, we need to populate the earth again. Let's procreate. And so the extra biblical mythology surrounding Ham is that he castrated Noah to prevent any more heirs to happen.
Now, would this be a tie-in to the Nephilim at this point?
So Nephilim is translated as men of renown. It's not giants, it's men of giant stature. So yes, I think it's the same people. It's the tyrants. Nimrod was known as the first tyrant, if you're looking at it from that perspective. On the other side, he was the great civilizer, the Quetzalcoatl, Osiris, Gilgamesh, the guy who spread agriculture to the whole world. That's
right.
So Nimrod to me is a very prototypical antichrist figure, and I think that that's kind of where it all ties in. Is what they're trying to do is resurrect the gods, resurrect the antichrist, bring in a chosen one who descends from this superior bloodline. That's the plotline of Dune, is genetic. Have you ever read the book Dune?
Never read the book.
Frank Herbert was 33rd degree Mason, and basically what the Bene Gesserit, the priestesses or the witches, whatever you want to call them, in that book did is for 10,000 years selectively mate specific bloodlines to create a psychedelic messiah, somebody who could see through all time with just his mind. I mean, it's very MK Ultra in that regard. Project Stargate, looking for people who have psychic sensitivity that come from specific gene lines.
Now, as far as, so like the cult of Saturn and everything is kind of portrayed as, or not kind of, they are portrayed as the death cult. So where does that fall in? And well, first of all, is that an accurate way to describe a lot of these?
He's got that sickle, right?
Right.
That's Kronos. That's him eating his children. He's essentially the prototype of death, or the Grim Reaper. Saturn only appears to people if they live long enough, 4 times in their lifetime. It'll be in the same position in the stars 4 times throughout your lifetime. So Saturn was used as a great marker of time, and Kronos is the god of time. And so it's this idea of like, death comes for us all. Saturn rules over death. You got to understand, though, like, most people don't believe that this life is the end, like throughout antiquity or even in most religions. Basically, we have 2 dimensions we exist in. I think it's only 2. The material plane, the 2 columns, or well, the 2 columns in Freemasonry serve as more like a gate, right? A gateway. And when you aren't initiated, you are standing outside the gateway. You're in the material realm, the fleshly realm. But through the Masons and their enlightenment or whatever, you go into the spiritual realm. And the Egyptians used to just get high on lotus flower in the Nile there. It was a DMT drug, and they would go up to the stars and map it. So a lot of their myths aren't about our lives. They're about the afterlife.
Right.
And the afterlife, you might as well just call it the spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm and the physical realm are harmoniously connected. Like geometry. which, to bring it back to the Masons, right? G for geometry, they say. They seem to be obsessed with geometry. So when going from 2D to 3D, the measurement to measure, say, the area of a circle, that formula directly informs how to measure the area of a sphere. You use that formula to proof the higher dimension. So that's what the geometry is about, is by as above, so below. By mapping the physical realm, you can get a sense of how to navigate the spiritual realm, in which case you're talking about things like foresight or prophecy or symbolism, dream symbolism, as a way to gain power or control or understanding or knowledge of things that most of us don't have access to. And a lot of Freemason rituals are about accessing endogenous DMT trips.
Right.
It's putting yourself into a mystic state is what most people call it. So that way you can see things. But I mean, you can smoke some weed and it puts you in the same place. So the spirit realm looks like, to us, the physical realm, unless you take a hero's dose or something.
We had a question pop up. Cambo says, have you guys heard of Nathan Reynolds? He says his family comes from the bloodline of the dragon.
Well, I hear the Reynolds are one of the Illuminati bloodlines, I believe, of the that's the Fritz Springmeier book that the CIA declassified. But I don't know who Nathan Reynolds is, but Reynolds is certainly a name that comes up a lot. A lot of American royalty can be traced back to a guy named Simeon Baldwin, actually. Have you heard of him?
I've obviously heard Baldwin, but not Simeon.
Yeah,
Baldwin.
you know the Baldwin. He's also one of the quote-unquote Illuminati families. But Simeon Baldwin was he married into Eli Whitney's family, and Eli Whitney was
interesting.
I think he has something to do with the founding of Yale, Simeon Baldwin. And definitely one of his descendants. Basically, every single Skull and Bones member that ever's gone through Yale is related to him, Simeon Baldwin, or related to Eli Whitney through, a certain amount of cousins.
And that's interesting because all Yale was started and funded with opium money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Greeks had opium, and that's why they were the dominating civilization, as they ran the Mediterranean's opium trade. I think it always comes back to opium for some reason. That one's beyond me.
Well, and this is a lot of the work that I've been into, because it always comes back to the drugs, which I find interesting because, bringing it back to MK Ultra, obviously there was so much more to MK Ultra than just the LSD, but I've noticed, in the researcher community specifically, people tend to kind of ignore that aspect because it's the most well-known aspect. And I do agree, it's not the point of it, but that's where the whole thing started. And that wasn't on accident. And that wasn't, I think, quite as inconsequential as some people would like to make it. Granted, it doesn't matter. The chemical compound itself doesn't matter. It's the fact of using a drug or an intoxicant to be able to sway entire mass groups of people. This is why we saw the execution of Malcolm X, because he was getting people in his community clean. He created a rehab clinic and told everyone to stay off drugs, and that was ultimately what led to the final push of his assassination. And all of this, all of the MK Ultra stuff was all funded with opium money, because the Rockefellers' old opium family, this goes back to the opium wars with China. And that's where a lot of this starts. That's where all of these elite schools were started. Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, all started with opium money. So it's incredibly interesting, especially now that we still have intelligence communities pushing drugs, and the drug culture.
Fentanyl. which is a synthetic opium, and that's why we were able to pull out of the Middle East, is because we no longer needed the poppy fields over there. We could just make our own.
Right. Yeah. So
they give that to
that's
women giving birth, by the way.
Right.
It's insanity.
Well, on that, I think we'll get out of here. We'll leave some people wanting more. So, plus I know you're on a little bit of a timeline and I don't want to keep you too long. So, let's see here. Let's go back to here. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Tell anybody where they can find you or any of those good things.
Okay, well, I am Disillusion Druid on YouTube and Instagram, and just Disil Druid on X because they can't fit my whole name. Other than that, I mean, just follow me. At this point, like, I've been doing this long enough that I know what I'm doing. I make a 3 times a week news podcast where I just I call myself a media critic. I just critique what we're seeing out there and try to give you something different than just all of the talking heads we're constantly being bombarded with. I make memes from time to time, but I got a full life too on top of that. Right now, what I need more than anything is just support and to spread me out there. If people actually want to have real conversations, I'm not the only person doing it, but I think I would be a good addition to any conversation. Because I think that a lot of what we are told to talk about is completely manufactured for us. And we need more people in this world who are at least willing to question that.
I agree. And that was definitely one reason why I wanted to have you on. Very impressed with your work. Make sure and go check him out. His links are in the episode description. Plus, if you follow me on X, you'll see me quote tweet him. So I highly recommend giving Disillusion Druid a follow.
I'm very responsive if anybody messages me. Like, I will sit and talk with you for hours about anything you want to talk about and explain myself. Like, I have no problem doing that. So we got to be genuine here. That's how we win this war.
Right. And then that's one way you can actually tell the difference between a real person and a bot. So, so for everyone else, make sure and go to risetoliberty.store. Go check out our merch. We've got our mind control design, little funky 60s, 70s-esque design. If you want to help out the show, which I do highly recommend, this isn't exactly free or cheap to do this. Also, helping out with my caffeine intake to be able to do all of this. So you can do that by going over to risetoliberty.com/coffee. Or you can go over to Ko-Fi and go donate there if you would like. And I get it. Times are tough. Not everyone has the ability to financially help. However, cash is king. But if you don't or don't want to, can't, I totally get it. The best thing you can do, hit the follow, share, subscribe, leave a comment. What did you think of this interview? What do you think of the topics we covered? We were kind of all over the place, but this was just kind of a nice Sunday chat with a couple of friends that just wanted to talk what's going on in the world. So make sure and do that. I tried to explain that just like Druid was saying, hitting the likes and the follow and the shares, all of these things are ways to actually get the message out there. Our big tech overlords have definitely made it difficult for people who are willing to question, willing to talk about things. They've made it very difficult for us to get out there. And so I don't think we'll ever blow up as a Ian Carroll or, a Candace Owens because, well, we're not on the inside group. It's a big club and we ain't in it. But you can help both of us reach a wider audience, which is what we need. We need diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, and there's no better way to do it. Plus, it only takes you a few seconds to do any of these things, and it literally is life-changing for people like us. So those are the best ways to help out. And on that note, any parting words for everybody?
Just sign off the same way every time. Keep seeking, truthers. It's out there if you look for it.
Hell yeah. I think this was great. Hang out for a second. I'm going to close out the streams and we'll wrap up on the back end. Everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Rise to Liberty. And until next time, stay free, my friends.